Hello, my name is Fred Lamore and I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch my video. Visions in Education has actually spent the better part of the last 3 years developing a strategic plan based upon some documents created through our last WASC accreditation, through an outside image audit, and through a skunkworks group that developed our core beliefs about student learning. We're currently in the final stages of finalizing that plan and actually beginning to put some legs on some of the project plans that have been developed. James Madison, the father of the Constitution, once stated that the Constitution was nothing more than a piece of parchment unless people had the courage and the ability to act on those basic principles. While our strategic plan is probably not on the grand scale of the Constitution of the United States of America, there is something that is quite similar, and that is the fact that the strategic initiatives and the strategic plan will not help bring visions into the next 5 or 10 years unless the instructional team has the courage to act upon the principles that was based upon. Therefore, the top priority for our instructional team should be to develop and model the behaviors of a professional learning community. The reason I say that is if the instructional team is incapable of actually modeling the behaviors that we're going to ask the rest of the organization to operate, we're never ever going to have the leverage with our teachers, our classified staff, and most importantly, with our students. Because we need to model those behaviors to the teachers so they can model those to students to ultimately leverage student achievement. At this particular point in our development, we understand some of the basic constructs of a learning community, but we've really not yet scratched the surface of really interacting as a professional learning community. There are a couple of things that I would begin to do as director of instruction in order to move those things forward. The first of those would be to change our mindset. Since I've been at Visions in Education, we continually work in a top-down management model. In fact, most of the people that operate on the instructional team still operate as managers, where we wait for something to come to us, we develop a plan or a policy to address an issue, and then that kind of trickles down to the teacher and then to the student. I would like to see us turn the hierarchy upside down, where the bottom of the pyramid is actually the instructional team. And it's our job to develop a mindset of service to serve our teachers, who then would serve our students in the same type of capacity. So it means that we have to move away from kind of being the sage on the stage and telling everybody what to do, instead modeling the behaviors we'd like our teachers and our classified staff to model to our clientele. This is a lot easier said than done. How would I go about doing it to begin with? Well, I think the first thing we need to do is we need to establish clear expectations for the instructional team. And we need to develop those in two different areas. The first, we need to develop clear expectations for how our group is going to interact. And again, we need to follow the 3 C's of collaboration, communication, and developing culture. But we also have to become a little bit more thick-skinned with how we interact. In order to do this, however, we need to develop clear expectations for each other. One thing that's kind of true right now with our meetings, not everybody in the instructional team has the same levels of capacity in terms of their understanding of the core work that instruction does. Some people have very limited understandings of 21st century learning. Some people have very limited technology skills. Some people have very limited understandings of formative assessment. We really can't have a solid discourse and pushback unless there are more people at the table who understand the systems well enough to give that pushback. That's why we sometimes see a lot of acquiescence, is the fact that we have folks that just clearly don't know. And without that, we're never going to get the best product. So we would develop individualized professional plans for each of the instructional administrators to develop those areas that they need to in order to come to the table prepared for a really engaging discourse. We would work to provide the resources to help people achieve those goals, but clearly we want to make sure that there are clear expectations on how people will perform. I've already kind of modeled this with the tech proficiencies, where we establish clear expectations, timelines, but most importantly, provide the resources for people to get there. So I know it can be done. I've also had the privilege of interacting with some professional learning communities already on campus, like the curriculum team, the pilot team, and actually the skunkwork team. They say that actions speak louder than words, and I think that's got to be true of our instructional team if we're to achieve our ultimate objectives. Thank you.